parking lot. A woman is killed, and days later, the shooter is still on the run. The family of the mother killed last week in the Pocket neighborhood is pleading with whoever is responsible to turn themselves in.
Yeah, her family says the victim is a 26-year-old loving mother of 2 young children. ABC 10's Roxanne Elias has their emotional plea for help.
A slew of emotions hit as this Sacramento family tries to understand how their sister, 26-year-old Chasity Sparkman, was killed on Valentine's Day.
It's especially hard for her kids. My auntie has to sit here and, deal with the mood swings, and she's trying to cope herself, so we're not okay. We're trying to be, but we're not okay.
We want to know the truth, We want an investigation. Justice. We want justice. We want them to turn themselves in. If they had nothing to hide, then they should be able to come forward and clear their name. We're just hurting.
She had just tucked her babies in. She had plans. She had a business she was building from the ground up, a degree she was chasing, and a laugh so infectious that people who barely knew her still talk about it today like they lost something personal. She was 26 years old. Her name was Chasity Sparkman. And on the night of February 14th, Valentine's Day, she got into her car, drove to a shopping center parking lot in Sacramento, California, and walked into a conversation she believed would be uncomfortable, maybe tense, but ultimately necessary. She was a mother first, always. And mothers do hard things for their children. She had no bodyguard, no backup plan, no reason to believe she needed one. The person she was meeting was someone she had loved since they were teenagers. Someone who had held her hand and made her promises. Someone who had watched their children take their first steps. She trusted him with her life. And that trust, that deep, bone-level trust that only comes from years of loving someone, is exactly what made what happened next possible. She never came home that night. This is the story of Chasity Sparkman. And I need you to stay with me because she deserves to be more than a headline. She deserves to be remembered whole. To understand what was lost on Valentine's Day, you have to understand who Chasity Sparkman actually was. Not the victim. Not the headline, the person. She came from a big family. And when I say big, I mean it. Her father, Alfonso Sparkman, had 20 children. Chasity grew up surrounded by siblings, by noise, by the kind of chaotic, overflowing love that only exists in households where there is always someone to talk to, always someone in your corner, always someone who will show up for you no matter what. That environment shaped her. It gave her something that money cannot buy and hardship cannot easily take, the unshakable belief that family is everything. And she carried that belief into every single room she ever walked into. Her brother Preston knew her better than most. And when he talks about her, he doesn't reach for complicated words. He just tells you the truth. He says you could have a full-blown argument with Chasity, a real one, the kind where voices rise and feelings get hurt, and the very next day, before you even had time to process it, your phone would ring. And it would be her, calling like nothing happened, ready to move forward, ready to love you again. Because Chasity did not hold grudges. That was not in her DNA. Forgiveness wasn't something she practiced. It was something she simply was. Everyone who knew her reaches for the same word when they try to describe her. Every single person, without being prompted, without coordinating their answers. They all say the same thing. Firecracker. She was a firecracker. Full of energy, full of opinions, full of life that spilled out of her and landed on everyone around her whether they were ready for it or not.
She was a firecracker. She loved everyone. She loved her family. She was very family oriented. If you know my sister, you know you guys could argue one day and she's going to call you the next and say, I don't care about you being mad, girl. What you doing?
She did not dim herself for anyone. She did not shrink to make other people comfortable. She was fully, unapologetically herself, and people loved her for it. She was also building something real. Chasity was an entrepreneur. She sold lashes and hair, running her own small business with the kind of hustle that only comes from a woman who knows exactly what she is working toward. And what she was working toward was simple, a better life for her children. She had enrolled at Sacramento City College, and she was excited about it. Genuinely excited. Her family says she talked about graduating the way most people talk about a dream they are finally allowing themselves to believe in. She and a close friend had made a pact. They were going to push each other, hold each other accountable, walk across that stage together. For their kids, for their futures, for everything they knew they were capable of becoming. Those kids were named Zani and Priscilla. Zani was 8 years old. Priscilla was 6. And if you want to understand Chasity Sparkman, you only need to understand one thing. Those 2 children were not just her priority. They were her pulse. Every dollar she earned, every early morning she pushed through, every plan she made, and every sacrifice she swallowed quietly. It was for them. She was the kind of mother who made her children feel like the most important people on earth, because to her, they were.
Go! I'm scared! Don't be crying, I was crying. One more time.
Priscilla, why your eyes so big? Priscilla! Hi, Mom! Say hi, Mom!
Right.
She was also, by every account, genuinely funny. She posted videos of herself on Instagram, dancing in the kitchen, laughing at herself, living out loud in the way that only truly confident people can. There was one running joke that her family still smiles about. She would post herself out to dinner with her father, captioning it as a date with her daddy, and strangers in the comments would get the wrong idea entirely. She would have to stop and clarify, "This is my father, my dad. We are having dinner." And instead of being annoyed by it, she thought it was hilarious. She would laugh and keep posting, keep living, keep being exactly who she was without apology. She was not a headline. She was not a cautionary tale. She was a 26-year-old woman with calluses on her hands from building something, flour on her apron from baking for her kids, and enough love in her chest to fill every room she ever walked into twice over. Remember that. Hold on to it, because the story is about to get harder. Chasity did not fall in love with a stranger. She fell in love with someone she had known long before life got complicated, long before bills and babies and the weight of real adulthood settled in. Isaiah James was her childhood sweetheart. They grew up together, the way some people do, learning each other slowly, building something that felt permanent because it had been there for so long it was hard to imagine life without it. They became a family, 2 children, shared memories stitched into years of photographs and inside jokes and ordinary Tuesday evenings that only matter once they are gone. From everything that existed publicly, the videos, the pictures Chasity posted, the glimpses into their life together, Isaiah looked like a man who was present. He was in the frame, playing with the kids, making them laugh, showing up in the way that fathers are supposed to show up. On the surface, it looked like love. And maybe for a time it genuinely was. But surfaces have a way of concealing what is happening underneath. Then Isaiah went to jail. And here is where you learn everything you need to know about who Chasity Sparkman was as a partner, because when the man she loved disappeared behind bars, she did not disappear. She stayed. She called regularly. She posted messages of support publicly, standing by him without hesitation, without embarrassment, without the quiet resentment that would have been completely understandable. She kept him connected to his children, making sure they knew their father, making sure he knew them, bridging a gap that incarceration carves brutally wide in families. She did all of this because loyalty was not a strategy for Chasity. It was not something she performed for appearances. It was simply who she was. She had watched her father hold a family of 20 children together. She understood, deeply and instinctively, that love is not just what you feel in the easy moments. It is what you do in the hard ones. So she did everything. She held it all down, alone, and she asked for very little in return. But here's the thing about loyalty that no one warns you about when you are young and in love and full of the kind of faith that makes you believe the best in people. Loyalty is only as safe as the person receiving it. The call started the way you would expect them to. Warm. Familiar. Two people who had built a life together, now separated by circumstance, trying to hold onto the thread that connected them. Chasity would pick up. They would talk about the children, about the days passing, about the future waiting on the other side of his sentence. It felt, in those early days, like something that could be survived. Then something shifted. It happened gradually, the way these things always do, slowly enough that you almost miss it, until one day you look back and realize the warmth has been replaced by something else entirely. Isaiah's questions changed their shape. What started as conversation became interrogation. Where were you? Why didn't you pick up? Who have you been talking to? Why did it take you so long to call back? Chasity answered, patiently, honestly, because that was who she was. But the answers were never enough. Each one seemed to feed the suspicion rather than quiet it, like water poured onto a grease fire, making everything worse while appearing to help. And then there was one particular call, recorded the way all jail calls are recorded. And in it, you can hear everything you need to understand about where this relationship had gone. Isaiah tells her she no longer cares about him, that his situation doesn't register for her the way it should. Chasity pushes back, and she does it calmly, without crumbling, without raising her voice to match his energy. She is firm, measured, unwilling to accept an accusation.
No, my man. Period. I know my man. Okay, period. This girl, y'all know her. This annoying. Period. You a beautiful picture. And I knew the picture too. That's how I get my man draw. You bitch never. It look good. I miss you food. And then I just said free my cousin. Then Chloe said, brother, I miss you food. Stupid. All right, we finna call somebody. All right, babe.
She is not earned. He tells her it doesn't count. She says, it does count. What are you talking about? He says he has been in jail. And Chasity, without missing a beat, without flinching, says, that doesn't mean you can't do stuff. You were forced to not do anything. If it was a choice, you would have. She knew. On some level, in that moment, she knew exactly what she was saying and exactly what she meant. She was not confused about what had happened. She was not making excuses. She was a woman who had given everything to someone and was now being asked to defend herself for things she had not done. And she refused. Quietly but completely, she refused. She was not backing down, but she was also not walking away. Because walking away meant disrupting the life she was holding together for Zani and Priscilla. And that was not something she was willing to do without exhausting every other option first. But the people closest to her began to notice. The spark that everyone always talked about, that firecracker energy that filled every room, it started dimming on phone calls. She posted less, smiled differently, carried something in her eyes that had not been there before. The kind of weight that comes from managing someone else's instability while pretending, for the sake of everyone around you, that everything is fine. Friends noticed. Family noticed. But Chasity was not the kind of woman who aired her private pain publicly. She held it, quietly, the way strong women so often do, because somewhere along the way they were taught that holding it is the same thing as handling it. When Isaiah was finally released, the people who loved Chasity hoped things would settle. That being free would soften him. That having access to his family again would replace the suspicion with gratitude, the jealousy with presence. It did not. The man who came home was not the same man who had left. The warmth she had fallen in love with as a teenager, the version of Isaiah who had played with his children and made her laugh and built something real with her, that version was gone. What stood in its place was something harder, something coiled, a need for control that expressed itself in accusations and demands, and an anger that sat just beneath the surface of everything, waiting. Chasity could feel it, even if she could not yet find the exact words to describe it. Even if she was still telling herself that things could be repaired, that the man she loved was still somewhere inside the one standing in front of her. She could feel it, and feelings like that exist for a reason. At some point, Chasity made the decision that needed to be made. She walked away from the marriage, and you have to understand what that decision cost her, not just emotionally, but practically. Walking away from someone you have loved since childhood, someone you built a family with, someone whose name is permanently woven into the story of your life, that is not something you do lightly. That is not something you do without grief, without second-guessing, without lying awake at night wondering if you made the right call. But Chasity had 2 children watching her, and whatever she could not do for herself, she could do for them. So she chose forward. She threw herself into building the life she had been putting on hold. Sacramento City College, her lash and hair business, her children's routines, their school pickups, their bedtime rituals, the 10,000 invisible tasks that keep a household alive when you are the only adult holding it together. She was not just surviving the separation. She was constructing something new out of it, brick by brick, with the same stubborn energy that made everyone call her firecracker in the first place. Isaiah, meanwhile, had also moved on. He had a new girlfriend, a woman named Ayanna Burgos. And on the surface, that should have been the end of the story between him and Chasity. 2 people, once in love, now living separate lives, connected only by the 2 children they shared. That is how it should have gone. But what should happen and what actually happens are very different things when unresolved anger is sitting in the room. The co-parenting arrangement was not peaceful. The separation had not drained the tension between them, it had concentrated it. Isaiah's anger had not found somewhere healthy to go. It had simply changed its target, sharpening itself against every interaction, every unanswered message, every moment where Chastity's forward momentum reminded him of everything he felt he had lost. And Chasity, for her part, was running out of patience for conversations that circled the same wounds without ever healing them. She had every reason to create distance, every reason to build a wall, communicate only through lawyers or mutual contacts, protect her peace with the same fierce determination she protected everything else she loved. She knew what he was capable of. She had heard it in those phone calls. She had felt it in the shift that happened after he came home. She was not naive, but she was a mother. And she genuinely believed, not blindly, not foolishly, but with a kind of deep, principled faith that defined who she was, that 2 adults who had created children together owed those children the dignity of a functional co-parenting relationship. That Zani deserved a father. That Priscilla deserved stability. That whatever had broken between her and Isaiah did not have to break what remained of their family structure. She believed that mature people could set aside their personal pain for the sake of something bigger than themselves. She believed that because she was capable of it herself. And people who are capable of something often make the quiet, devastating mistake of assuming others are too. That belief, generous, principled, and completely sincere, would cost Chasity Sparkman everything. February 14th, 2024. Valentine's Day. It was 11:15 at night when Chasity got into her car and drove to the Lake Crest Village Shopping Center on Florence Road and Green Haven Drive, a commercial parking lot in Sacramento's pocket neighborhood. Ordinary, familiar, the kind of place you pass without thinking about it on any other day of the year. She chose it deliberately. A public place. Open. Visible. Because whatever else was true about the situation, Chasity was not reckless. She was a woman who understood that the conversation ahead of her required neutral ground, somewhere with lights, somewhere with witnesses, somewhere that felt safe enough to have a difficult discussion without it becoming something else. She was there to talk about the children. Co-parenting arrangements. The kind of adult logistics that separated parents have to navigate regardless of how much pain sits underneath the practicalities. She was there because Zani and Priscilla needed their parents to function in the same space without it becoming a war zone. She was not there for confrontation. She was not there for drama. She was there because she was a mother doing what mothers do, absorbing discomfort so her children would not have to. What she did not expect was Ayanna Burgos standing in that parking lot. Isaiah had brought his girlfriend. Whatever Chasity had prepared herself for on the drive over, whatever script she had rehearsed, whatever boundaries she had quietly drawn, whatever patience she had gathered and held carefully in her chest, none of it had accounted for this. The dynamic shifted the moment she saw her. A conversation that was already fragile became something else entirely. The air in that parking lot changed. Words were exchanged. Voices rose. The tension that had been building for months, through jail calls and accusations, and a separation that had never fully released its pressure, it all arrived at once, in that fluorescent-lit parking lot, on a night that was supposed to be about love. And then, one gunshot. Just one. Sharp and final and irreversible, cutting through the Valentine's night air like a period at the end of a sentence that should never have been written. Isaiah James and Ayanna Burgos did not call 911. They did not kneel down. They did not check if she was breathing or press their hands against the wound or do any of the things that human beings do when they are confronted with the consequences of their actions. They ran. They left Chasity Sparkman alone on that pavement, in that parking lot, on Florence Road and Green Haven Drive, in the pocket neighborhood of Sacramento, California, on Valentine's Day. They just left her there. She was 26 years old. Zani and Priscilla were home. When the first responders arrived at Lake Crest Village Shopping Center that night, they moved fast. They always do. But some wounds do not wait for fast. Chasity was transported to the hospital with the kind of urgency that fills a room with controlled panic. Machines, hands, voices cutting through the noise with clinical precision. The medical team did what they were trained to do. Everything that could be done was done. It was not enough. Chasity Sparkman was pronounced dead. 26 years old. A mother. An entrepreneur. A daughter. A sister. Gone. Sacramento police arrived at the scene and began their investigation immediately. The parking lot that had been ordinary just hours before was now cordoned off, flooded with light, crawling with detectives collecting evidence from pavement that had no business holding the weight of what had happened on it. No arrests were made that night. The two people responsible were already gone, vanished into the dark with the kind of speed that only comes from having already decided, before the trigger was pulled, that they were not going to stay. Within a week, the Sparkman family stood in front of cameras. Think about what that takes. Think about what it costs a family to compose themselves enough, in the rawness of fresh grief, to face a lens and speak. Alfonso Sparkman, a man who had fathered 20 children, who had built a large and loving family across decades of life, now stood as a father with one fewer child than he had started the week with. There are no words adequate to that particular kind of loss. And yet he stood there because Chasity deserved justice, and justice required someone to speak her name loudly enough for the right people to hear it. Her sister did not reach for careful words. She did not polish her grief into something presentable. She said exactly what she felt, the way Chasity herself always did. She was such a light. She didn't deserve to die the way she died. Simple, true, devastating.
Parking lot. A woman is killed, and days later, the shooter is still on the run. The family of the mother killed last week in the Pocket neighborhood is pleading with whoever is responsible to turn themselves in.
Yeah, her family says the victim is a 26-year-old loving mother of 2 young children. ABC 10's Roxanne Elias has their emotional plea for help.
A slew of emotions hit as this Sacramento family tries to understand how their sister, 26-year-old Chasity Sparkman, was killed on Valentine's Day.
It's especially hard for her kids. My auntie has to sit here and, deal with the mood swings, and she's trying to cope herself, so we're not okay. We're trying to be, but we're not okay.
The shooting happened around 11:30 p.m. Wednesday in the Lake Crest Village shopping center in the Pocket neighborhood. Sparkman's family says from what they know, Chasity was there meeting with her husband when things turned violent.
We want to know the truth, We want an investigation. Justice. We want justice. We want them to turn themselves in. If they had nothing to hide, then they should be able to come forward and clear their name. We're just hurting.
We asked police if she was there meeting her husband. They told us they're actively looking for suspects and don't want to compromise the investigation. As her family searches for answers, they're trying to focus on the lasting memories made with Chasity.
She was a firecracker. She loved everyone. She loved her family. She was very family oriented. If you know my sister, you guys could argue one day and she's gonna call you the next and say, I don't care about you being mad, girl, what you doing?
The mother leaves behind 6-year-old daughter, Priscilla, and 8-year-old son, Zani. The family hopes her children can get through it.
That they could just hold on to the memories and the love that their mother has for them. And that God gives them strength to get through it because they're just babies.
Her sisters, parents, and children hope the shooter will come forward and turn themselves in.
It's to do the right thing so we have our closure. She deserves that. She deserves it. She was such a light. She didn't deserve to die the way she died. She didn't deserve it.
The community showed up. Over 100 people gathered at the very spot where Chasity had taken her last breath. Strangers standing beside family, candles held in hands that had never met her but felt her absence anyway. Because that is what happens when a light that bright goes out. Even people standing at the edges of the warmth notice when it disappears. But Isaiah James and Ayanna Burgos were nowhere to be found. They had not turned themselves in. They had not come forward to clear their names.
Yeah, family members are calling on whoever did this to turn themselves in. They described Chasity Sparkman as a loving mother who loved life and had so much more left to live.
Chasity Sparkman!
Chasity Sparkman won't be forgotten.
She's nothing but joy, you know what I'm saying? And man, we just love her. We just miss her so much.
Don't forget about my sister.
Sparkman's family members say she was the woman shot and killed in a Sacramento shopping center on Valentine's Day.
Gun violence. We gotta stop. We gotta stop the gun violence.
The Sacramento Police Department says its detectives are still investigating and no arrests have been made. 1 week later.
Don't forget that my sister is not here anymore because she was somebody important.
At the Lake Crest Village Shopping Center in Sacramento's Pocket neighborhood, more than 100 friends, family, and loved ones gathered.
She never missed saying, I love you. When she exits, she gonna let you know that she loves you.
It didn't have to happen.
Calling for justice, demanding accountability, and mourning the young mother's death.
More than life itself, Chasity loved her children. Her children was her world. Everything Chasity did was for her kids.
Families say Sparkman was 26 and a mom to 2 children.
She was going to school for business. She was just starting out with her music career, and I just can't say enough.
And as they gathered, many wearing pink and with heart-shaped balloons, they remembered and grieved.
Justice for Chasity. Justice for Chasity.
We spoke with the Sacramento Police Department about this case tonight. We were told they were unable to release any updates as to not compromise their investigation. Meanwhile, Sparkman's family is raising money for her 2 children, ages 6 and 8.
Yeah, just a hard time for that family. Leon, thank you so much.
They had not done any of the things that innocent people do when tragedy strikes and accusations begin to fly. They had simply vanished. And as the days stretched into weeks, Sacramento police made a decision that would prove to be the right one. They expanded their search beyond the city, beyond California, beyond the assumption that the suspects had stayed close. Because some people run far when they run. Nearly 3,000 miles away from that parking lot on Florence Road, in the dense, sprawling maze of New York City, Isaiah James and Ayanna Burgos were living on borrowed time. 1 month after Valentine's Day, 30 days after they left Chasity Sparkman alone on that pavement, authorities tracked them down and took them into custody. Both of them, together. The Sacramento Police Department confirmed the arrests, and a spokesperson said something that has stayed with me since I first read it. Our investigators weren't close-minded to the fact that they may not be in Sacramento, and ultimately, we found them in New York. They found them. Both were extradited back to Sacramento to face homicide-related charges. The long arm of consequence, it turns out, reaches all the way across the country. 3,000 miles is not far enough. It was never going to be far enough. Alfonso Sparkman, when he heard the news, exhaled something that had been held in his chest for 30 days. Not joy, not celebration, just the first breath of something that might, one day, become peace. It's good, he said quietly, to get some sleep. Zani is 8 years old. Priscilla is 6. They are being raised by family now, held inside the same big, loud, loving Sparkman circle that raised their mother. The same energy, the same loyalty, the same instinct to close ranks around the people who need protecting. Chasity grew up understanding that family shows up, and in her absence, her family is showing up for her children the way she would have wanted, the way she would have demanded if she could. Her sister speaks about it with a clarity that cuts right through you. She says the family is focused on one thing, and one thing only: loving those children, raising them the way Chasity would have raised them, making sure that no matter how many years pass, no matter how young they were when they lost her, Zani and Priscilla never forget their mother. Not the headline version, not the tragedy version. Her. The woman who danced in the kitchen when she thought nobody was paying close enough attention. The woman who called her father daddy on Instagram and laughed until her sides hurt when strangers misread it. The woman who could argue with you on a Monday and call you on a Tuesday like the sun had simply reset and everything was possible again. The woman who sat in a Sacramento City College classroom with a dream tucked under her arm, determined to walk across a graduation stage for 2 children who were watching everything she did and learning from all of it. She had plans, real ones, a business she was growing, a degree she was close to earning, a future she was assembling piece by piece with her own hands, her own hustle, her own unbreakable belief that tomorrow could be better than today if you were willing to work for it. She was willing. She was always willing. Her brother Preston said it best: the way people who truly loved someone always find the words that no eulogy could manufacture. He said her forgiveness was almost impossible to earn, not because she was withholding, but because she gave it before you even asked for it. Before you had finished being wrong, she was already on her way back to you, already picking up the phone, already deciding that love mattered more than being right. That was Chasity Sparkman. Not the parking lot, not the Valentine's night headline, not the 45 seconds of local news coverage that reduced her entire 26 years to a single tragic sentence. Her. The people we lose are never just the worst thing that happened to them. They are every ordinary Tuesday before it. They are the kitchen dancing and the daddy jokes and the late night study sessions, and the way they held their children like holding them was the only thing that made the rest of it make sense. Chasity Sparkman was a firecracker. She was a mother who would have done anything for Zani and Priscilla. She was a daughter from a big, beautiful, imperfect, deeply loving family. She was a woman building something real out of nothing but determination and faith. She was someone's whole world, and she deserved so much more than a parking lot on Valentine's night. Say her name, remember her whole, and if this story sat with you the way it sat with me, if somewhere in these 20-something minutes Chasity stopped being a stranger, then do one thing before you close this video. Hold the people you love a little tighter tonight, because some people leave for a parking lot on an ordinary Tuesday and never make it back. And the ones we lose deserve to be more than a lesson. They deserve to be remembered as exactly who they were, alive and full and real. Rest, Chasity. Your babies are loved. If Chastity's name is going to stay with you tonight, and I believe it will, then you already understand exactly why this channel exists. Not for the algorithm, not for the numbers, for her, for Zani and Priscilla, for every family sitting somewhere right now in the middle of a grief that the news cycle has already forgotten about, hoping that somebody, anybody, still thinks their person mattered. They matter. Every single one of them. This community exists for people who refuse to let these stories disappear, who believe that the least we can do for the ones who are gone is to remember them fully, not as headlines, not as warnings, but as the whole, complicated, beautiful human beings they actually were. If that is the kind of space you want to be part of, subscribe. Hit the bell so you never miss a story. And if Chastity's story moved you, share it, because the most powerful thing we can do for her memory right now is make sure as many people as possible know her name. Thank you for staying with me through this one. It was not an easy story to tell, but it was one that needed to be told. I will see you in the next video.
What she say, yeah. Got this nigga on my line trying to get some time. I ain't fucking with no nigga that ain't splitting dimes. Really on my grind, yeah, bitch, it's fine time. Bitches running up on me, she gon' eat these hands. Really not a fighter, finna throw some bands. If I pop this pussy, bet that nigga dick stand. And if I up this Polly Wally, she gon' do her dance. And if I call about it, Betty put it in my hands. He can't eat me, he gon' treat me. I don't want her man, tell him free me. Little dumb bitch, why would you ever think? He ain't never ate the 20 cent no pussy stick. Why would you do that? Ay, white bitch on the set, but you know that. Why would you do that? Ay, rich nigga Cuban links that he flipping back. Why would you do that? Ay, white bitch on the set, but you knew that. Why would you do that? Ay, we all nigga, and he flipping back. Money bitch, but the voice like stepping. Never seen your confident part, but I'm a rapping for me. And if a bitch running up, she better bring it on. Little solid body bitch, come and make me fall. Cause I hop up on y'all nigga, you gon' fall back. Ain't no choices, either that or you gon' run that. Hershey, want my nigga, what? I need mine first, bitch, if you get it fucked. Sock it to them pockets, bitch, this ain't no fucking game. Only want it for the night, I need it for the day. And it's not, better keep it on the swivel. He know what he got, eat pussy off the gristle. Would you do that? Hey, white bitch on the set, but you knew.